I, 28F, never thought I'd be in this situation. My sister Tessa, 25F, recently started dating my childhood bully, Jake, 29M. This has brought up a lot of painful memories and created tension in our family. Jake tormented me relentlessly from ages 11 to 16. We grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other. My family had lived there for generations, but Jake's family moved in when I was in 5th grade. At first, I was excited to have a new classmate. But things quickly turned sour. It started with small things, nasty comments about my clothes or hair. Then it escalated. He would call me cruel names, spread rumors about me, and once even pushed me down a flight of stairs at school. I dreaded going to school every day because of him. One incident stands out vividly. In 7th grade, we had a class project where we had to work in pairs. The teacher assigned Jake as my partner. I was terrified but hoped maybe working together would improve things. Instead, Jake sabotaged our project the night before it was due. He told the teacher it was all my fault. I got an F and had to attend summer school. My parents were furious with me. Speaking of my parents, they were aware of the bullying but didn't do much beyond telling me to ignore him or stand up for myself. My dad always said, "Boys will be boys," and told me not to be so sensitive. My mom suggested I try being nicer to Jake, thinking maybe he was acting out because he liked me. Their dismissive attitude made me feel even more alone. Tessa, being 3 years younger, wasn't in the same school during the worst of the bullying. But she witnessed some incidents when Jake would taunt me around town. She'd always told me to just laugh it off and not let him get to me. Easy for her to say, she was always the more outgoing, confident sister. The bullying affected every aspect of my life. I became withdrawn and anxious. My grades suffered. I lost interest in activities I once loved, like playing soccer and painting. I started having nightmares and panic attacks. But I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone about it. I finally got relief when Jake's family moved away before our junior year of high school. I was able to enjoy my last 2 years of high school without constantly looking over my shoulder. I slowly came out of my shell, made some close friends, and even started dating. After high school, I went to college in another state. The distance from my hometown helped me heal. I went to therapy to work through the trauma and anxiety the bullying had caused. While I still have some lingering issues, I've mostly moved past that chapter of my life. I built a new life for myself in the city where I went to college. I have a good job as a graphic designer and a tight-knit group of friends. I even adopted a rescue dog, Max, who's been a huge source of comfort and joy. Things were going well, until last month. I was back in my hometown visiting family for my dad's 60th birthday. Tessa excitedly told us she had started dating someone new. I was happy for her until she revealed it was Jake. Apparently he had recently moved back to our hometown after getting a job at the local bank. Tessa knew about our history but downplayed it, saying Jake had grown up a lot and deeply regretted his past behavior. She said they'd run into each other at a mutual friend's barbecue and hit it off. According to her, he's changed completely and is now a kind, mature adult. I was stunned and felt blindsided. All those old feelings of fear and anxiety came rushing back. I pulled Tessa aside and told her I wasn't comfortable with her dating my former bully. I explained how much his actions had hurt me and how I still deal with the aftermath. Tessa accused me of being dramatic and holding on to the past. She said I was being selfish and trying to control her life. She insisted Jake was sorry and deserved a second chance. When I pressed her on whether he'd actually apologized or acknowledged the bullying, she got defensive and changed the subject. My parents overheard our conversation and sided with Tessa. They said I needed to let it go for the sake of family harmony. My mom even suggested that maybe this was a blessing in disguise, a chance for Jake and I to reconcile and heal old wounds. I felt like I was taking crazy pills. How could they expect me to be okay with this? Things came to a head last week at a family dinner. My parents invited Jake, despite my protests. Seeing him again was like a punch to the gut. He looked mostly the same, just older. He attempted to apologize to me, saying something vague like, "Sorry about all that stuff when we were kids." But it felt hollow and insincere. Throughout dinner, Jake kept making inside jokes with my family and acting like we were old friends. He even brought up some memories from school, conveniently leaving out all the times he tormented me. My family was laughing and chatting with him like nothing had ever happened. I started feeling anxious and overwhelmed. My hands were shaking and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I excused myself to the bathroom, hoping to calm down. But I ended up having a full-blown panic attack. I was hyperventilating and crying uncontrollably. Tessa found me and instead of being concerned, she berated me for making a scene and embarrassing her in front of Jake. I couldn't take it anymore and left early, much to my family's disappointment. Now my whole family is mad at me for ruining the dinner and making things awkward. They're pressuring me to forgive Jake and accept their relationship. Tessa says I'm being selfish and trying to control her life. My parents think I'm overreacting and need to move on. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I wrong for being upset about this? I don't want to control who my sister dates, but I also don't think it's fair to expect me to be okay with having my childhood tormentor in my life again. The whole situation is bringing back a lot of painful memories and anxiety. I'm at a loss for what to do. Part of me wants to cut contact with my family until they start respecting my feelings. But I'm worried about damaging those relationships permanently. I've worked hard to build a good life for myself, and I don't want to let Jake's presence ruin that. But I also don't know if I can handle having him around during family gatherings. Any advice on how to handle this would be greatly appreciated. Am I overreacting? Should I try to forgive Jake for the sake of family peace? Or should I stand my ground and distance myself from the situation? I feel torn and confused. Update 1. Thank you all for the supportive comments on my last post. They really helped validate my feelings and gave me the courage to stand up for myself. I wanted to give an update on the situation. After reading your responses, I decided to have an honest conversation with my family about how Jake's presence was affecting me. I invited my parents and Tessa over to my apartment to talk without Jake there. I spent days preparing what I wanted to say, even writing out some notes to make sure I covered everything. When they arrived, I made coffee and we sat in my living room. Max, my dog, seemed to sense the tension and stayed close by my side. I took a deep breath and started explaining how the bullying had impacted me long-term, the anxiety, depression, and trust issues I've struggled with. I shared specific incidents of Jake's cruelty that still haunt me. Like the time he convinced the whole class not to come to my 13th birthday party, leaving me sitting alone at the roller rink for hours. Or when he started a rumor that I had lice, leading to me being ostracized for weeks. I showed them some of my old diaries from that time, filled with entries about how much I hated myself and wanted to disappear. I even admitted that I had contemplated suicide at one point because of the relentless bullying. This was something I had never told them before. I tried to make them understand that this wasn't just kids being kids or normal teenage drama. Jake's actions had a profound and lasting impact on my mental health and self-esteem. I explained that seeing him again had re-triggered a lot of that trauma. I made it clear that while I don't want to control Tessa's life, I'm not comfortable having Jake as part of our family gatherings. I suggested that maybe Tessa could keep her relationship separate from family events, at least for now. I said I was willing to be civil if I ran into them around town, but I needed more time before I could be around Jake in intimate family settings. Unfortunately, the conversation didn't go as I'd hoped. My parents seemed dismissive, saying I was dwelling on the past and needed to be the bigger person. My dad said that holding on to anger would only hurt me in the long run. My mom suggested I try talking to Jake one-on-one to clear the air. Tessa got defensive and accused me of trying to sabotage her happiness. She said I was being selfish and making everything about me. She argued that Jake was a different person now and that I was judging him unfairly based on things he did as a teenager. Then Tessa dropped a bombshell. She and Jake are now engaged after only 2 months of dating. She flashed a diamond ring I hadn't noticed before. Apparently, he had proposed last weekend and she had been waiting for the right moment to tell everyone. I was shocked by this news and expressed concern about them rushing into marriage. This led to a huge argument. Tessa said if I couldn't be happy for her, then I shouldn't bother coming to the wedding. She stormed out, saying I was dead to her if I couldn't accept her relationship. My parents weren't much better. They told me I was being selfish and immature. My mom said she was disappointed in me for not being more supportive of my sister. My dad said I needed to grow up and stop letting the past control me. They left soon after Tessa, both giving me cold, disappointed looks. After they were gone, I broke down crying. Max cuddled up next to me, which helped a little. But I felt utterly alone and misunderstood. The whole situation has re-triggered a lot of trauma and anxiety. I've been having trouble sleeping and concentrating at work. I'm heartbroken that my family seems to care more about Jake's feelings than mine. They're acting like I'm the problem for not welcoming my abuser with open arms. It feels like they're choosing him over me. I've decided to take a step back from my family for my own mental health. I sent them each a text saying I needed some space to process everything. Then I turned off my phone. I'm going to focus on self-care and surround myself with supportive friends for now. I've reached out to my therapist to schedule some extra sessions. I'm also thinking about joining a support group for adults dealing with the long-term effects of bullying. I need to build up my support system outside of my family. One small positive, a couple of my cousins reached out after hearing what happened. They were supportive and said they understood why I was upset. It meant a lot to know that at least some of my family is on my side. I'm still processing everything, but I want to thank this community again for all the kindness and validation. It means more than you know during this difficult time. I'm not sure what the future holds for my relationship with my family, but I know I need to prioritize my own well-being right now. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and unfortunately things have only gotten worse with my family. After taking some space, I tried reaching out to Tessa to talk things through calmly. I suggested we meet for coffee, just the two of us. She agreed, and for a moment I felt hopeful that we might be able to find some common ground. But when I arrived at the cafe, Jake was with her. I felt ambushed and betrayed. They claimed they just wanted to clear the air, but it felt like a setup. Jake launched into what seemed like a rehearsed apology, saying he regretted his past actions and had grown as a person. But something about it felt off, like he was saying what he thought I wanted to hear rather than showing genuine remorse. I tried to explain again how deeply his bullying had affected me, but Tessa kept interrupting to defend him. She accused me of trying to play the victim and said I needed to let it go. The conversation quickly devolved into an argument. I left feeling frustrated and unheard. A week later, Tessa and Jake got married in a quickie courthouse ceremony. My parents are thrilled and have fully embraced Jake as their new son-in-law. They didn't even tell me about the wedding until after it happened. I found out through social media when Tessa posted photos. Seeing them so happy together brought back all those painful memories. I ended up having another panic attack and calling out of work. My boss was understanding, but I worry about how this ongoing stress is affecting my job performance. My parents are furious that I didn't congratulate the newlyweds. They showed up at my apartment unannounced to berate me for being petty and ruining Tessa's special day with my drama. I tried to calmly explain again why this is so difficult for me, but they weren't listening. The breaking point came when my mom said, "Jake is family now whether you like it or not. You need to get over yourself and stop living in the past." She went on to say that I was being selfish and immature, and that my behavior was embarrassing the whole family. I lost it and told them to get out of my apartment. I said I was done trying to make them understand and that I needed space from all of them. My dad called me ungrateful and said I was tearing the family apart with my selfishness. They left, but not before my mom said she didn't recognize the person I'd become. I've blocked their numbers and social media for now. The constant pressure and guilt tripping were becoming too much to handle. I'm focusing on my mental health and leaning on my friends for support. One of my friends suggested I write a letter to my family explaining my feelings, even if I never send it. I've started doing that and find it somewhat cathartic. It's helping me process my emotions and clarify my thoughts. I know cutting off family is extreme, but I feel like I have no other choice right now. Their complete disregard for my feelings and trauma is devastating. I'm not sure if or when I'll be ready to have them in my life again. For now, I'm throwing myself into work and my hobbies. I've started volunteering at a local animal shelter, which has been a good distraction. Spending time with the dogs reminds me of the unconditional love and support that Max gives me. I'm still struggling with feelings of guilt and doubt. There are moments when I wonder if I'm overreacting or if I should just try harder to accept the situation. But then I remind myself of how anxious and depressed I've felt since Jake came back into my life, and I know I'm making the right choice for my mental health. It's a difficult and lonely road, but I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm grateful for the support of my friends and this community. Your words of encouragement have been a lifeline during this challenging time. Update 3. It's been 6 months since I went no contact with my family. I wanted to give a final update on the situation. Cutting ties was incredibly difficult, but ultimately the right decision for my mental health. I've been seeing a therapist to work through my feelings of guilt and grief over losing my family relationships. It's been a long process, but I'm starting to heal. Unfortunately, my family hasn't respected my wishes for space. They've tried contacting me through friends, showing up at my work, and even threatened to call the police for a wellness check. I had to change my phone number and move apartments to get some peace. The final straw came last month when I ran into Tessa and Jake at the grocery store. I was in the produce section when I heard a familiar laugh. I looked up to see them at the end of the aisle. My heart started racing, but I took a deep breath and prepared to just nod politely and walk away. But as I passed them, Jake smirked at me and said, "Watch out for those stairs, klutz." It was a clear reference to when he pushed me down the stairs in school. Tessa laughed it off as a joke. I was stunned. It was clear he hadn't changed at all, and my sister was enabling his behavior. I left my cart and walked out of the store, fighting back tears. That encounter solidified my decision to keep my distance permanently. I've accepted that I may never have a relationship with my sister or parents again. While that's painful, I know it's necessary for my well-being. I'm focusing on building my chosen family of supportive friends. I've become closer with my cousins who reached out before. We've started having monthly dinners together, which helps fill the void of family gatherings. I'm also considering moving to a new city for a fresh start away from all the painful memories. I've started looking at job openings and apartments in a few different places. The idea of a completely new beginning is both scary and exciting. My therapist suggested I join a support group for people estranged from their families. I was hesitant at first, but it's been incredibly helpful. Hearing others' stories and knowing I'm not alone in this struggle has been comforting. I still have bad days where I miss my family and second-guess my decision. But overall, I know I'm on the right path. My anxiety has decreased significantly since cutting contact, and I'm starting to rediscover parts of myself that I had suppressed for years. I've picked up painting again, something I loved as a child but gave up because of Jake's bullying. It's been therapeutic to express myself through art. I'm even considering showing some pieces at a local gallery's amateur night. Max continues to be a source of comfort and companionship. We've been going on longer walks and hikes, which has improved both our physical and mental health. I'm grateful for his unconditional love during this difficult time. Work has been a positive distraction. I recently got a promotion and have been taking on more challenging projects. My boss has noticed my improved focus and creativity since I've been prioritizing my mental health. Thank you to everyone who has offered kindness and support throughout this ordeal. Your words have been a lifeline during the darkest moments. I'm still on a journey of healing, but I finally feel hopeful about the future. While I may not have the family I was born into, I'm building a life filled with people who respect and value me. And most importantly, I'm learning to respect and value myself. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. For anyone going through a similar situation, know that you're not alone. It's okay to prioritize your own well-being, even if others don't understand. Healing is possible, and you deserve peace and happiness.